And good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Comic Corner here on the Agents Fandom Network, here on YouTube, Facebook, and the Bad Place. My name is Damon. I'm your host, and yes, do not scratch your eyes, do not clean out your ears. It is just me today. That's okay, because we're going to talk about a lot of great comics. We're going to talk about some news that dropped yesterday that is very exciting, specifically for DC folks, specifically, even more so for your absolute DC folks. We have huge news that dropped yesterday, and we're going to get into it. But first, let's get into the rundown. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about. We have a killer reveal in Absolute Batman. The header of this video says this is a must-read book, and here's why. We will get into it, because Absolute Batman skyrocketing on my personal list. I wasn't that high in Absolute Batman. This last issue, fantastic. We'll get into it. The good and the bad of Absolute Flash. We'll get into it. There's a lot of good and some not so great. We'll chat about it. And Game of Thrones of Marvel, the Game of Marvel Thrones. Issue number 2 of Imperial dropped. I couldn't not compare the first issue to what is essentially galactic Game of Thrones for Marvel. And it's very good. This issue, not as great, but still very interesting. A lot of cool twists, a lot of cool turns. But first, let's get into that news. Because yesterday, DC dropped 2 huge one-shots for the Absolute Universe. And we're going to start off with this one. It's called Absolute Evil. All the bad guys are teaming up. This is, we're finally starting to get into like a little bit of like some issue crossover. Even in Marvel's Ultimate Universe, until this most recent Miles Morales incursion comic, the Ultimate Universe has largely been within itself, with between each issue is kind of its own thing. And the Absolute Universe, even more so, has been their own thing for those issues. Where Absolute Batman really just takes place in Gotham. Superman is really just Superman's story. Wonder Woman, just Wonder Woman. Flash, Martian Manhunter, etc. Interesting. What is even more interesting is that, like I just mentioned, this is the first real coming together in the Absolute Universe. Brandon, good morning. This is called Absolute Evil number 1. In Absolute Evil number 1, Ra's al Ghul, Veronica Cale, Hector Hammond, Eleanor Thawne, and the mysterious Joker are no longer working at cross purposes. Together, they're aligned, united, and dangerous, but an insidious betrayal within threatens to unravel everything they've built. Very interesting. I'm excited. We have gotten very, very, very little of Absolute Joker. An Absolute Joker, the one panel that we did get is wild. It's literally the world's richest man, covered in a big baby jacket. It's the best I can describe it. So also on here, we have Brainiac. You do see Ra's al Ghul, Bane, a bunch of the big bads that we have seen, the rogues that we have seen across the Absolute line. I'm very excited for this just because this is the first time we are really getting a crossover between these issues, between the big 3 of it all in the Absolute Universe. I cannot wait. I think this is going to be a must-read issue. If you've been reading the Absolute Universe, if you haven't, do so, because it's been excellent. Specifically, what has been excellent has really been all of them, but Absolute Batman has been very good. And what Marvel hasn't been doing with their Ultimate line is doing annuals, which is very surprising. But Absolute DC is doing it. We're getting Absolute Batman 2025 annual number 1. Now, you may ask, what could possibly an annual be for this universe when we haven't really seen that much of it yet? Well, this is kind of neat. We're going to go back in time. We're essentially doing Batman, Absolute Batman Year 1, the annual, with a bunch of different writers and artists. Daniel Warren Johnson and part of this. James Herron, Meredith McLaren. I love Meredith McLaren's art. I cannot wait for this. This is going to be very, very, very cool. Go back, see some old school things that we haven't seen so far. We have. There's one issue where we did go back and we did see some original Year 1 Absolute Batman stuff, and that may have been one of my favorite issues. So to go back even more and sees some things like what did work, what didn't work with this version of Bruce in this universe. For example, in that one issue where we kind of went back and saw a little bit of Absolute Batman Year One, I think you could go back and watch our reaction to that issue. Bruce tried a bunch of things that did not work, and it was rather hilarious because part of it was he literally brought in like vampire teeth that he would wear to try to be intimidating, and it did not work. So that's where the whole thing was like, I need to be more intimidating. I need to just be bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's where we get big boy, 6'9", 400-pound plus Bruce, which is crazy in this absolute universe. I've been digging this. This has been so cool, so rad. I'm really excited that we get to see a annual one shot for these characters. I hope that means we get more also for Superman or Wonder Woman. I don't know if we'll get one for Martian Manhunter just because that was supposed to be a mini and they just pushed it to a bit longer of a book. Flash, whatever it is. I hope that DC continues to do some of these annuals for these absolute books because it does add to the story, adds to the layer, adds to the context. Everything just adds to. So I am very excited for that. That will be dropping, both of those, in October. Absolute Evil on October 1st and Absolute Batman 2025 Annual #1 on October 29th, just before Halloween. Great timing on that. Let's get more into Absolute Batman. This is the reason probably a lot of you are here. We've been noticing that whenever I put something in the headline, this is the most watched part of the view. Makes sense. Why should you read Absolute Batman? Because this is Absolute Batman #10. This is written by Scott Snyder, artist Nick Dragotta, colors Frank Martin, letterer Clayton Cowles, editors Sabrina Fuchs, Andrew Marino, Kay Kubert, and Chris Conroy. What an issue. I've been a little lower on Absolute Batman than maybe a lot of other people. I don't know why. It just hadn't been clicking for me. Some issues had been clicking a lot more for me than other issues have. And in particular, why I think this one works is because we're kind of like back to just like seeing the subtle differences or not so subtle differences that this absolute universe has on Gotham, on Bruce, than the main Earth Zero, than our main DCU continuity. So what's been going on and what's been happening is Bruce got kidnapped, essentially. He's been thrown into Ark M, not Arkham, Ark M, haha, which is a giant research facility where they are researching things. And the reason he's been kidnapped is because he is looking for one of his best friends, as one of his childhood best friends, Waylon, aka Killer Croc, because in the Absolute Universe, he is friends with his main rogues gallery, all except Joker. So he's friends with Cobblepot. He's friends with Selena Kyle. He's friends with Two-Face. He's friends with Killer Croc. Very cool little twist on that. That his rogues he's best friends with. So he almost intentionally gets kidnapped so he can find Waylon. And we've been seeing Bruce be put into high intensity situations, mostly where he gets out of them. In this case, he doesn't, because Absolute Bane is a monstrosity. He's an abomination, as some have called him. And it's disgusting. Like, body horror wise, Absolute Bane is hilariously, disgustingly large. And what they've been doing is they've been experimenting on Bruce this entire time. Not for days, not for weeks, but for months have passed while Bruce has been in Arkham. It's wild. They think they break him down. In reality, they don't. They think they strip him down of every single weapon, every single tool he has. He always finds a way, because that's Batman. And this Batman, this Bruce, is just that to an extreme, to the point where he literally has like a toothpick hiding beneath his teeth just so he can pick some lockets and try to escape. And when he does escape, we get to see more of what Arkham is doing. And that is experimenting on a bunch of other people. So that includes our first appearance of Absolute Clayface. That includes our first appearance of Absolute Poison Ivy. But whenever he escapes, Bane always comes and catch him. They do eventually do something to Bruce in this. We see that they put something in him. We don't know what it is yet. We can assume, but we still do not know what they put in him yet. But they did essentially shave him down. He has scars all over his body. He has venom type stuff, kind of like pulsing through his veins. We're not sure what's going on, but eventually he finds a suit. He does escape, seemingly intentional by the Arkham folks that they kind of let him escape to see how far he can push it. And along the way, he does find his friend Waylon, and he is in full Killer Croc form. But this Killer Croc, like everything in the Absolute Universe, very wild. It's like a dragon lizard where teeth run like a zipper down his body. It's wild. Absolutely wild. And it's a little disheartening because we see flashbacks of Bruce constantly helping out Waylon. Waylon wants to be a boxer. He has a fight against Bibbo Babowski, who is like one of Superman's best pals, his biggest fan, if you will. And Bibbo in this universe was a boxer, was a fighter. We see him way earlier on in this series. And it's a little sad because we grow an attachment towards Waylon here. We get to see his hopes and we get to see the relationship that Bruce has with Waylon. And then we get to see what Arkham finally does to Waylon, which is turn him into Killer Croc. Fortunately, it seems like Waylon's brain is still there. He's not like an evil guy. So the two team up and they escape while Bane watches from distance and is like, very Craven the Hunter-esque. Where he's like, my prey. Gonna go get you now. It's gonna be fun. So the Bane stuff is still gonna keep on going. I'm excited for it. This issue is just phenomenal. This is what I get the most out of when it comes to these absolute Batman titles, is when I get to see the very groundedness. I didn't really care for like the party animal stuff, to be honest, which is like earlier on in this. But whenever we get to see Bruce in this universe, just kind of like be Bruce, be Batman, whenever we get to see the subtle twists on, oh, this is what Absolute Poison Ivy looks like. Oh, this is what Absolute Clayface and Absolute Killer Croc look like. And when your brain gets to turn a little bit there, that's when I enjoy it the most. So this is just an absolute, all pun intended, must read book. This Ultimate Spider-Man, they've been killing it on the superhero fronts here. And these are must reads. The trades for Ultimate Spider-Man are out already. I actually do not know if the trade for Absolute Batman is out, but when it is a must pick up. You have to go get it. You have to go. If you haven't been reading it, it's been wild. It's been cool. The Absolute Universe, bit more dark, bit more crazy, my opinion, than like Marvel's Ultimate Universe, but it just works. It just works so well between this, Manhunter, Wonder Woman, Superman, all of it. Fantastic. So huge shout out to Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta. I think I kind of give this like a 9.5 out of 10 or maybe even 10 out of 10 issue. That's how much I enjoyed it. So hats off to them. Cannot wait for the next one. It is phenomenal. A book that, so we've been praising here the Absolute Universe. Understandable so, it's been very good. Absolute Flash number 5. This is written by Jeff Lemire, a writer I very much enjoy. Artist A.L. Kaplan, colorist Adriano Lucas, letterer Tom Napolitano, and editors Ash Padilla, Andrew Marino, and Katie Kubert. I'd say there's a good and bad when it comes to Absolute Flash. And AFS in the chat, AF, hope you're doing well. Is Absolute Batman back on top for you? I don't think so. I don't think Absolute Batman was ever on top for me. But it is, this issue definitely made me more excited for the next one than previous issues have. So I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. For Absolute Flash, there's a lot of like really good and a lot of in here. And AF is a perfect person to chat to have in here for this because this follows Wally West and kind of like his first adventures as the Flash. And I think what works really well is when we have Wally and little baby monkey Grodd kind of like communicating with each other. When we get to see that side of Wally, we get to see that side of Grodd, and they're helping each other. That is the feel good stuff in this that I enjoy. And I think the Absolute Universe, for intentionally how dark as it is, because it is in a universe that is created by Darkseid, is going to be extra dark. What I think I need a little more in these Absolute Universes, and maybe Flash is going to get there, as crazy as it sounds, is a little bit of hope, because Absolute Superman is pretty dark. And that last issue gave you a little bit of like that Superman that you want, that hope. But Flash gives me a little bit more of that when it is Wally and little baby monkey Grodd communicating with each other. Grodd is his good conscience in this, essentially. They share a psychic bond. They can think, talk, communicate with each other that way. And there's some classic Flash villains that show up that Grodd says, "We need to help." And Wally's like, "But I don't know how. I don't know how to do this without like he's destroying things and I need to stop him." He's like, "Not stop, help." And that is the goodwill nature that I need more out of these absolute books. And that's the good of it. Some of the art in here, when I say some of the bad, some of the art is either very good or kind of, there is a side profile specifically of like Captain Cold that I kind of look and I'm like, that's not great. But I can kind of move on from that if it's a single panel because most of the time it looks very, very, very good. The downside also is Wally, because we're only 5 issues in, Wally is still very young, still very anxious, still running away. Even though this issue is like, I'm no longer going to run, I'm going to do it. In the end, like, I'm no longer going to run away from the problem. I'm going to head it face on. And he does it at one point in this issue. But by the end, he's still running. And I'm hoping maybe in the next issue or two, he kind of stops with like the running away part, just because I really want to like this absolute Wally. I relate to the anxiety that he has. He's the most anxious little child in this absolute universe. And I think we could all relate to that. Most of us can. I just need a little bit more of that development, that push. And I feel like I'm rushing it because we're only 5 issues in. So I'm going to give it some time. Uh, AF in the chat says Absolute Flash is playing catch up though compared to the big three. If any of the Absolute books will have hope, it will be this one. I do agree with that. I do agree with that because Batman is very dark and gritty. Wonder Woman is cool, like very cool. I wouldn't say like hope, but very cool because it has like a lot of like hell witch stuff. Superman, a little angrier Superman, but like I said last issue, you have that hope. Manhunter is just like a trip. And unfortunately, Green Lantern just hasn't been for me. But this is that hope book that I feel like we can get to. Shout out Jeff Lemire on it. I enjoy the tone. I feel like maybe my biggest critique is just I just kind of want to get to that point sooner. And that shouldn't be a critique. That's just a personal thing. So I think it will get there. I think it will get there. I'm absolutely giving this more time. But I do enjoy it. I think the goods outweigh the negatives on this. So that is Absolute Flash, number 5. I did like it. I did like it. This is a huge turn. We're going over to Marvel now. This is Imperial. I described the first issue of Imperial as what if Marvel did games of Game of Thrones in the Marvel Universe, but in space? When you have like the Shi'ar and the Kree and the Skrull, and the Hulks and Wakandans also have a galactic impact, so let's throw them in there too. And the first issue is a huge talking socio-political drama, stabbing in the back, things go wrong, and chaos breaks loose. Very classic Game of Thrones. This issue is very action-packed to the point where I'm like, I miss the socio-political like stuff going on here. I miss the chatter, the backstabbing and stuff. And it takes about 2/3 of the issue to finally get there because the first half is essentially reacting to what happened last issue, where seemingly a Wakandan shows up and murders some folks on a political council. So the Wakandans are to blame and war breaks out. Now, while all this is going on, there's like these overarching dark figures seemingly playing chess with one another who seem to be manipulating everything. We do not know who they are yet. It seems very like Mojo World. If you're like an X fan, like very Mojo World, where you have someone like kind of like playing chess over you and manipulating your moves. But we do not know anything about them yet. But back to the Wakandan, it takes about 2/3 of the issue to finally get to like the interesting stuff where Shuri, who is there, has a conversation with, I believe it is Quill and Nova. And they're breaking it down to be like, yeah, obviously it's a Wakandan who does this. They used vibranium to assassinate what is Quill's dad, Star Lord's dad. And she's looking at this and she's like, nah, this is fake vibranium. Someone's, manipulating all this. This isn't real vibranium. So she reveals that to them. That's cool. There is also, because we have the scrolls involved, and this is more stuff that I'm like, yes, this is what I need out of this essential Game of Thrones Marvel Galactic book. When you have the scrolls involved, you have people pretending to be people, and M'Baku literally gets stabbed in the back, right through the abdomen, when he thinks he's in good hands and he thinks he has like an upper hand on a situation. Those are the really cool things that I do enjoy about this. Very action packed, not as much like political socio talking, but this is a second issue. That makes sense. I know the other funny thing is I was like, yes, finally a Marvel event where there's not a lot of tie-ins. Marvel did announce a handful of like single one-shot tie-ins for this, but it doesn't seem like it's overly done. It's not like 20 something issues of tie-ins, thank God. But I have been enjoying this. I think this is very cool. I'm fascinated to see where this is going to go. They've been hinting that this is something that is going to reshape the galactic side of the Marvel universe, and so far it kind of has. Things have changed. We didn't see any Wiccan or Hulkling in this issue like we did in the first issue, but we got some Hulk action, a lot of Black Panther stuff, some Kree things, some Scroll things. Like he pretty much touched on everything but Wicked and Hulkling. So really enjoyed it. This is cool. I think this is going to be a very, very awesome collected edition when it is all said and done. I mentioned the Ultimate Universe. I love the Ultimate Universe. And a book that I think people are really finally starting to come around to is Ultimate X-Men. This is Ultimate X-Men number 17. This is written and painted by Peach Momoko. Art in here is gorgeous. I had to think that goes without saying. And with letters from Travis Lanham. This has a lot of Thunderbolts vibes. I mean, Thunderbolts asterisk movie vibes. If you know the ending of that, that's kind of like the point of this, where we have a group going in to save. We have like essentially all of our characters that we've been building up throughout the last 15, 16 issues going in to save Armor, because Armor has been taken over by the Shadow King, become a terrible, evil version of herself, where she is just influenced with nothing but the worst thing she thinks she ever did. And it is a heartbreaking thing, where she is blaming herself for the death of a classmate, essentially, straight up blaming herself, and has gone into such a dark spot in her mind where an evil version of her Armor is kind of taken over, led by the Shadow King, who is manipulating her in that way. But we have May Storm and Canon and all these characters that we've been developing and seeing grow throughout the last 16 issues or so. Go in and rescue her. And it is May Storm who kind of gets to her in the end and snaps her out of it. A big group hug moment, very fun. But now that Armor is kind of like snapped out of it in a way, she's going in to do what she needs to do and save Shadow King, which I really love. Very nice, very nice. I've been mentioning this too. This does not feel like an X-Men book at all. Ultimate Wolverine feels a lot more like an X-Men book than Ultimate X-Men does, which is kind of funny. But this does feel like Ultimate Runaways. And I say that, I've been saying this now for what, 17 issues? 17 episodes of this, I've been saying that. But it's true. It does. It feels more like Ultimate Runaways. And I do enjoy it for that. So if you can go in and you haven't read this and you want to give it a go, just go in expecting something a little different. New Mutants-esque, more Runaways vibes. It's cool. It's very, very, very cool. You have secret society stuff, evil maesters, cults, all that good stuff in a very isolated Imperial Japan setting. So go check it out if you haven't. If you're not even liking the story, the art in here, once again, is worth it because it's phenomenal. I love Peach Momoko's art. Her paintings are phenomenal. A book that's been climbing in my ultimate rankings, because I think the first arc some people didn't dig. It was Black Panther versus like Moon Knight / Ra / Khonshu. This is Ultimate Black Panther number 18. This is written by Brian Hill, artist Stefano Caselli, colorist David Curiel, letterer Joe Caramagna, and editors Michelle Marchese and Will Moss. What this has turned into, instead of like gods versus gods, or religion versus gods and fake religions and all that stuff, is this is now really turned into a commentary on AI. Because in this universe, we brought in the Sorcerer Supreme of the Ultimate Universe to come on in and find out what's been going on with this Vibranium, because Vibranium's been acting weird and we don't know why. And the Sorcerer Supreme came over and essentially accidentally let out the living embodiment of Vibranium, which is this big monster man right here. And their whole destin is naturally very Terminator-esque to take over the world and kill everyone. Nothing new there. But it's done very well. And what this Black Panther has been very cool is now that he has to do everything without vibranium. It's a very classic Black Panther story because of that. And I think it's just wicked. You get some great moments here between Ultimate T'Challa and Storm. Maybe things got a little spicy. Maybe I'll have to read the book. But I dig it. And it's very, very, very cool. What I will say about this is I do like this new story a lot more than I think the first story was. I think this is a bigger swing and a more fascinating angle on where vibranium really came from. And I did mention the AI of it all just because I think, and the reason I say that, the reason I say the AI thing is because the Wakandans have relied so much on their vibranium, on the technology specifically, that it's essentially what if it happens that like your technology turns against you and is now trying to kill everyone? What do you do when you've been so reliant on something and it's taken away from you and it's bad? And that's where we go back to the grassroots, the bare bones Black Panther. So we get some great little moments between Storm and T'Challa and a prophecy that is coming up that the vibranium itself needs. Very, very, very neat stuff. I'm into it. Brian Hill, you want me back. That's all I'll say. Brian Hill, you want me back. I don't even say I wasn't even like one over. I was very fortunate to actually read the first 10 issues or so, just kind of like as a collection, because I think like issues like 4 through 9 or whatever, like were a little slow, but I was able to power through them because of a collected trade reading. So this could be one of those books that reads better as a trade, but the last few issues, very, very, very nice reads as individual issues. Let's go over to our indie books. We have 2 books left. This is Red Before Black. This is written by Stephanie Phillips, artist Goran Sudzaka, colorist Eve Savorchinai, letter Tom Napolitano, and editors Maya Bollinger, Eric Harburn, and Andy Schmidt. I did not know this was the last issue of the series. So when the final page hit, I let out a giant WTF because the ending is heartbreaking. This is the story of 2 women who get themselves into a little bit of trouble. If you like that Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy type of relationship, where it's like 2 baddies who just kind of find each other, you'll dig this. And this is a 6-issue mini. It's done. I was not expecting it to end in the way it did. So this follows a girl. I'm gonna point one out on the left, in a white tank top, who is a former, I think Marine. She was in the military, and she went over to the Middle East during the war, early days, and just wanted to do good. But unfortunately, was double crossed in a way. She promised good, and people died in the end, and she's haunted by that. Meanwhile, the woman on the right and the blonde hair, she is haunted by some things of her childhood. Terribly abusive father. You could probably assume where that goes, unfortunately. And she tried to kill him, but ended up not pulling the trigger. when both of them get into their dark places, essentially disassociating from the worlds, they go into a jungle scenario. And that's where the two of them kind of meet up and are able to connect with each other. And this issue, you get a lot of the backstory on both of them. We know that our military main character essentially tried to save the life of a woman while overseas and failed. So when the two do get arrested while in a psychic camp, essentially, a psychic plaza where a bunch of psychics live, and their two are arrested, all of a sudden, someone's brother shows up, starts shooting, and our military main character does what she essentially wanted to do, which was save a life and throws herself in front of a bullet and dies. The end. Wild. Um, the book is heartbreaking. I think it's very well done from Stephanie Phillips. I'm just shocked that this ended the way it did. I didn't think it was a mini, and it apparently was. So go check it out, guys. It is a great, great, great series. Great mini. And we need more great minis in the world, and Boom definitely provides them. Go check it out. Overall, I give this entire mini like a 4.5 out of 5. The art from Goran is great. AFS. How's the art? The art from Goran Suzaka is great. I love the art in this book, especially when they're in the jungle setting, which is like this mental state. Very well done. Very, very well done. The colors from Eve are very green intentionally so, but that makes it so the red and the blacks of the coral snakes pop. And I don't know, maybe there's a part of me that likes this book a little bit more just because the theme of the book is red before black. And if you're like an animal lover, like maybe I was when I was a kid, like watching Animal Planet or Zaboomafoo and all that stuff, you learn the phrase red before black, friendly Jack, red before yellow, kill a fellow. And that is the theme of this book. And it is, I don't know, I just thought that was kind of neat because that's always a phrase I always remember in the back of my mind. So go check it out when the trade comes out. It should be relatively soon. Last book. Two people in chat may remember this. This is the one with the demon child. This is Be Not Afraid #2. This is Jude Ellison S. Doyle, artist Lissandro Esteren, colorist Francesco Segala and Gloria Martinelli, letterer Simone Boland, and editors Caroline Butler, Allison Gronowitz, and Elizabeth Bry. Before we get into it, we have a question in the chat. First time here, watching from the Philippines. Welcome. Playing to read Absolute Superman. What do I think? I think Absolute Superman is very good. It's very fun. Are they playing an Absolute Justice League too? Maybe. I do know they are planning on the crossover of the big three at some point. There is no official plans for Absolute Justice League, but Absolute Superman is very good. My personal favorite of the three, I will say, is Absolute Wonder Woman. I think that twist on that character is very cool. And Absolute Batman and Absolute Superman, like every month or so, kind of like flip flop on which one I enjoy more. But welcome. Thanks for the question. If you have any other questions or anything of the line to that, feel free. We're going back to Be Not Afraid. This is from Boom Studios. This is a wild book. As I mentioned earlier, there is a demon child involved. We do not see the demon child in this issue, which is essentially the child of a woman in the middle of nowhere in the olden times and an angel. But this kid is no angel. It is literally like the embodiment of Satan himself. We do not see the child in this issue, but we do see the origin of it and how the mother of the child, her name is Cora, kind of came to be with this kid and what brought her to that point. And she, long story short, I'll summarize it real quick. She is a child who lives with her mom. Her mom, very sad. Her father just passed away. So her and her friend, they go out to a church essentially to help find God, get some closure on it all. And all of a sudden, Cora starts seeing visions from God. The priest, her mom, her friend, everyone is just essentially saying she's crazy, gets put locked away, acted like she's crazy. She breaks down, and God then connects with her by sending an angel. But sometimes angels are there to help, and sometimes angels are there for temptation. And that's what this one was. And this angel was no good angel, and thus created this demon child. Full core at its very best. 2 issues in, great. Great. This is, again, as I mentioned with Red Before Black, I'm going to mention it again here. When this comes out in trade format, I think this is going to make a incredible read. I'm really enjoying this on a monthly basis as well. I think the pacing between the issues, the setup is very well done. If you're into some full core, if you're looking for a little bit of spine tingly chills, questioning everything above or below, this is the book. This is very cool. I've been waiting for like a very good horror book. I do like Boom Studios' Hello Darkness, which is a horror anthology, and the first issue was teased in that anthology, so I already had a little bit of a connection towards that because of it. Very cool. Highly recommend. Just creepy, man. And the art. Oh, Lissandro on the art here. It's Lissandro Esteran. Perfect art for this book. The smiles, the creepy smiles that you see constantly, the faces, the distortion, the body horror, top class. Next week, we got a lot of books. That was all our books for the week. Managed to get through them, just talking to myself. I'll take it. Absolute Martian Manhunter #5. I think this is the best Absolute book, and it's not just my opinion. A lot of people also believe this as well. Absolute Martian Manhunter #5 is out. Absolute Wonder Woman #10. Gwenpool #3. That's a book that's happening. Jeff the Landshark #2 for those who just want to smile. And from Boom Studios, Minor Arcana #9. A wide range of titles we'll be talking about next week between the Absolute books, some Marvel Gwenpool, what's going on there, some Jeff the Landshark, and then a little bit of fall vibes with Minor Arcana. We'll be sure to have the full crew back next week. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. That'll do it for this issue of the Comic Corner. As always, you can find us here on YouTube at Agents of Fandom. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and anywhere else, all these social media apps at Agents of Fandom, Agents Fandom elsewhere. Make sure you go support your local comic shops. Go to comicshoplocator.com to find the nearest comic shop near you. Everyone, until next time, take care, and thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week, Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.